Howdy folks, welcome back again. So I know this isn't part of the Necro series that I just started. I will be delivering on that, but I've recently learned something, and all the videos I see on it, they way overcomplicate it. It's you can do a stackable inventory system. It's fairly simple, and we're going to go over all that, including how to pick up the items, get them added, all that jazz, and it's going to be super fun, super straightforward, and a great way to stay in shape. So I got a completely clean project here, minus one thing. So in the Epic Games launcher, if you go over to the marketplace, they have this free section. So if you hover over it, it'll open this little drop down. You can go to the permanently free collection, and it's got all kinds of stuff. It's got characters, it's got environment, it's got Australia. But for the purpose of this one, I'm going to go to page 2. I'm going to use this craft resources icons because let's do a stackable inventory system. I see lots of videos on it. It always seems like way overcomplicated. But the only thing I've done so far is I've imported that. Everything else is still just nothing. So, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set the color of my blueprint folder to blue, and then this one to a light blue. I do this every time. I don't know why. Even on these small videos that's not going to have a lot of stuff, it just makes it so much easier to find because I can just scroll through and look and find. And you can change them to any color you want. So I'm going to double click, open that up. Right click, new folder, inventory, system. Helps if I can spell. We're doomed. I'm going to highlight the third person character, I'm going to F2 and rename that to player_BP. In the inventory system, I'm going to right click, go to blueprints, and do a blueprint interface called interact_BPI. I'm going to open that up, and I'm going to just make that event interact. Compile that, save that, close that. Done. Alright. Then I'm going to open the player up. Delete that, don't need it, delete that, don't need it. Under class settings, I'm going to go to add interface, and I'm going to add that interact interface we just created. Then over in the viewport, I'm going to highlight the mesh, and I'm going to add a sphere collision called interact radius. So whatever's inside this radius will be able to interact. I don't know why I feel the need to tell y'all things that are self-explanatory. Interact radius, radius with which you can interact. Anywho, I'm going to bump that radius up to about 75. That seems about fair, doesn't it? Seems about fair. So we'll compile that, go into the event graph, highlight the interact radius, scroll down on component begin overlap, highlight it one more time, and on end overlap. So basically, when anything overacts it, we want to check to see if the other actor that's overlapping it has tag. Does the actor have the tag of interact? B and left click to branch, hook that up. And if it does, then we want to add array, add. No. Add array, add unique. And on true, hook that up. Then we want to drag off and create that, promote that to a variable called interactables in range. Probably a better way, better naming convention to use, but that's what I'm going with. So then we can Control C and Control V to copy those right there, because we want to see on end overlap if the actor has the tag interact, and if it does, then we want to remove item from array. Boom. Alright. So just to test it out, let's get the length off here. You don't have to do this part if you don't want to. This is just to demonstrate. So I'm going to do a print string hook biome. Alright, now out here, this part you will want to follow along with. So I'll create a blueprint of an actor and call it base pickup underscore BP. BP? Yeah, BP. My brain's frazzled, man. Alright, so in that base pickup, we want to add a static mesh that we'll call the item. And then on top of that, a sphere collision that we will call also interact radius. And I'm going to set that to about, let's see, 150. That's what Titanic Games used, and it worked out pretty good. So that's what we'll do. Then under the base pickup BP self, the main whatever, in the details panel type in tag, and we'll add a tag of interact. Compile that. For right now, I'm going to set this to not hidden in game so that when we drag it out, we'll be able to see those things. So I'm going to test that out real quick just to show you. See, it counts up to 1, 2, 3 because I'm interacting with all 3 at the moment. But if I leave, then it counts them down and removes them from that array. Cool, right? Right, I thought so too, anyway. So in here, under blueprints, we want to do an enumeration and call this item type underscore E. And we're just going to do a few just for demonstration's sake. So I'm going to do 4. So the first one is none, like you got nothing there. Next one, potion. Next one, food. Next one, whoop, weapon. Save that. Back out here, we want to right click, blueprints, structure. The structure is basically like if you have a lot of things that are going to use a lot of the same types of variables, then you can add this structure to it and it'll automatically populate it with those variables. So this is going to be our item info underscore s. And what our item info we're going to want is we are going to want the item type. Then we'll get the item type enumerator for the variable. A new variable, item class. And then we'll go to actor, and we want to get a class reference. This will be how we detect which one when we check the stack. So a new variable, item name. This will be a text. New variable, item image, and this will be a texture 2D object reference. New variable, current stack is an integer. New variable, max stack. Let's see, we got the item type, the class, the item name. We need one more, so we will do item index, also an integer. And then we'll save that, and that should be all we need. So in the base pickup, we'll go in, we'll add the variable of item info, change that to our item info structure, and then boom, it's got all that we just made. So instead of having to go in and make it every time over here, we can just add that one time and then update it as we go. So what I'm gonna do, okay, in the base pickup, just click this little eye that's closed and make it open. Just, I don't know if you have to, but I'm just gonna do it right now anyway, just in case, because I think you do, but I can't remember exactly. So I'm gonna create a child blueprint of this and call it, let's call the first one potion underscore BP. And I'll open that up. For the item, I'm just going to add a cube that is a quarter of its actual size. And there. Oh. Just gonna move it up. In the base pickup, I'm gonna detach that interact radius from the item. If you have it like that, then wherever you move the item, that interact radius will go with it. So I'm gonna detach it so that they move separately. So in the potion BP, I'll go back to this. Is it? Oh, it's already gone back down. Okay. So now what we can do is we can go here. You click that self reference thingy. Over in the default, it'll have the item info. I'm gonna set this to a potion. Item class is I don't know how to spell. Potion BP. Item name is health potion. And for the item image, I'm gonna go into that craft resources and find this one with the background, just because it'll look nice. So I'll set that there. Current stack is 1 because as soon as you pick it up, you don't want it to say 0, you want it to say 1. I want to set it to where they can only hold 5. Yeah, 5, just so I don't have to throw out 100 just to show you that it'll go to the next stack. Now back in the inventory system, I want to create 2 widgets. First one, widget blueprint, is going to be the inventory screen _ W. I'm going to double click and open that up. Go to the canvas panel, right click it, wrap it with a scale box. Click the canvas panel again, wrap it with a size box. So on the size box, I'm going to do a width and height override. 1920 by 1080, and this will just make sure that no matter what screen it's on, everything here will scale according to this. Even if it's on a smaller screen, bigger screen, doesn't matter, it'll all fit appropriately. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get another canvas panel, drag it out onto that. I'm going to set the anchor to the right side of the screen, position X and Y back to 0, alignment 1 and 0.5. Actually, what was it? 1.1. For size X, I'm going to go 6. Sorry, my keyboard kept making that noise and I hated it. So for size X, 650 looks about good. And then 500 on the Y. 600 on the Y. 600 on the Y. Looks nice. So then I'm going to drop in an image under that canvas panel. I'm going to anchor it to the full thing, set all the offsets to 0, and because I was a big Final Fantasy nerd, I'm going to change it to a blue color of about 0.1. Looking a little bit Final Fantasy VII original background colored style. So then what I want to get is a uniform grid panel and add it to that canvas panel also. And anchor it to what? Wait. Yeah. No, I'm doing something wrong. Okay, make sure you got the uniform grid panel selected. Okay. Don't do that. Uniform grid panel selected. Anchor, full thing. Also 0, 0. And then we'll go back and say offset 25, 25, 25, 25. Just a little, so it's not like lined up right on it. Gives it a little cushion, makes it look a little bit nicer. In my opinion, of course. So I'm going to set the name of this thing to inventory panel, and then I'm going to click is a variable because we want to be able to add things to this on the fly. Back out here, I'm going to create another widget called inventory button _ W. Oh, I like to capitalize W. I am recording, right? I'm gonna be pissed. I am recording. So inventory button, I'm going to open that up. I'm going to do the same wrapping thing. Scale box. Size box. And then for this one, I'm going to set it to 1080, 1080, just so that it's a perfect square. Then I'm going to drag a button onto the canvas panel. Anchor it to the whole thing. Go to Style, Normal, Draw as Image, and then the button is automatically a variable, but I'm going to say Inventory Button for the name. So in the graph for this one, we want to get rid of both of those, but we want to add a variable called Item Info, which will be our struct we made a little bit ago. So on construction, then we want to drag out this inventory button and set its style. So we will make button style, and we'll drag out our item info, break it, drag off the item image, and do make slate brush, so that the image is that. Now another thing we want to do is we want to drag a text onto the button and set its font. It's something ridiculous. I think last time I did it was like 190 before I was able to really see it. So we'll do that. I'll set it to italic, whatever. And gonna set that it is a variable. One more text onto the canvas panel because it can't hold any more. The button can't hold any more children. Its arms are full. So I'll offset both of these to 1, 1, 1.5, 1.5, 3, somewhere around there. I'll set this one's font size to 150. Italic, size it to content 1, 1. That'll work. So all that adjusting the alignment, just 1, 1 works. Sorry. Compile that. Oh, click that it's a variable. Compile that. I'm getting ahead of myself. So highlight the first text block that's attached to the button, and we'll call it item name. And then the second one, we'll set it as quantity. Now compile. So in the graph, now that we've got the button style set to the image that we want, let's go ahead and do one more thing. We'll go ahead and hook that up to pressed, and from here we'll make a slate brush. We'll drag off make slate color, double click and open that up, set it back to white, and then set it to about 0.1 just so that we can take this image and darken it so that it looks like when you actually go over it and click it, it doesn't just change back to a white box. Alright, so now we'll drag out the item name and get it, and then we'll set the text. We'll drag out another item info so that we don't have to drag lines all the way across, and we'll break it. So we'll hook the item name here, and then quantity will get set text just like the first one, and we'll set the current stack as the number for that. That way it'll keep track of how many are in that slot. And that's pretty much all we gotta do for that. So I'm gonna save everything real quick just because this button is your best friend. Use it regularly. I cannot stress how frustrating it is to get a lot of stuff done and then there's a crash and you just, oh god, when did I push that button last? Alright, now back in the player blueprint we want to add a variable called inventory. We'll change this to our item info structure, but we want that to be an array. This is a single instance. It'll store one variable. If you go up here to the right, click that to these boxes, it makes it an array, and now I can store a lot of them. We also want to add in one more variable called inventory size, but we don't want that as the array. We want that as an integer, but just a single instance of an integer. I'm going to compile and set that to 25. So now in the inventory screen, we want to go to the graph, get rid of that, get rid of that. Event construct, we want to cast to player BP, or whatever your character's name is, get a character. Get a tutorial guy who knows how to spell. As player, we will promote. Yeah, we don't really need to. I'm going to do a custom event called build inventory. And then I'm just going to build inventory. No, you know what? Yeah, let's go ahead and promote that to a variable called player ref. And then we'll build the inventory. So down here in our custom event, over here actually, we want to add a variable called row. That's an integer. Another one called column, also integer. And then column size, because this will come in handy when we use our inventory panel. So we will compile that. We're going to drag out our player reference. This is a good reason. Good thing I did go ahead and do it. We're going to right click, do a for loop. Not for each or each with break, but a for loop. We'll hook that up. First index 0. We'll get inventory size. We'll subtract 1 from it, because with arrays they start from 0 and then move up. So 0 is actually 1, 1 is actually 2, etc. So if we want 25 slots, I could either set this to 24 and then it'll be 25, or I can just have it set to 25, then subtract 1. I guess either way works, but this, I like 25. So then I will drag this down, and I will get our inventory. And for the loop body, we want to create widget. On the inventory button, alright. So we want to set button. Editable and expose on spawn. There it is. I knew it was somewhere around here. So make sure you click that variable and make it editable and expose it. So that in your inventory screen, I'm going to select the inventory button and it'll automatically have that. So now we'll drag off the inventory and get a ref, not a ref, get a copy. We'll drag this over a little bit so that we can plug this index into right here. So every single time it fires through an index, sorry, it'll get the inventory item at that slot. And then we'll plug that in right there. Drag out our inventory panel, get it, add child to uniform grid, hook that's there and line it up. The content will be the button. We'll drag out the row and we'll drag out the column. this up. I'm a little OCD when it comes to this stuff. Doesn't seem like I am on any other aspect in life, but here I am. Alright, so we want to set the default value of the column size to 5, but we want to leave row and column at 0, because we're going to drag this back a little bit. Set row and set column, so that every time this build inventory thing is called, it sets it back to the very front. Alright, and every time it does this, we want to set, I can never remember which one is which. I think it's column is the side to side, and then the row is the top to bottom. So we will get the column, integer plus integer, and then set the column. Oh, also, if you didn't know, you can hold Control and drag out a variable, and it does an automatic get. Or you can hold Alt and drag it out, and it does an automatic set. Comes in handy when you need it to. Doesn't seem like it would change much, but it really comes in handy. So we'll set the column to whatever the column is plus 1, then we'll check to see if it's greater than or equal to our column size, because we only want it to be 5 across. So if it is, we'll B left click, hook that up, and if so, then we want to grab our row, and then we'll INC for an increment the int, and then we'll set the column back to 0 so that it goes through again and sets the next row up with the same amount. That should be everything we need here. So now in the player blueprint, let's add see what's a good, I'm gonna just use Z just because it's the only one that's gonna pop up. So on Z, I want to find out if my menu is open, question mark. Set that to a Boolean. Branch, hook that up. If the menu is not open, then we want to we want to right click and say is valid, question mark. We want the one with the question mark because it's gonna basically asking if this is a real thing. If it is not currently a real thing, then we want to create a widget of the inventory screen, promote that to a variable called inventory ref, and then we'll drag that up and add it to viewport. So off of is valid, we just want to hook that directly to add to viewport because it already knows that this is real and it can just do it. So I'll hook that here just to make sure that if the inventory ref is not valid, we'll create it. If it is, then we'll just add it back to the viewport. Alright, so if the menu, and then we'll set that the menu is open. Now, if the menu is open, then we want to remove from parent. And then set that it's not open anymore. So now if we're in here, you should be able to see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, it's because there's no spacing. Alright, in the inventory screen back over here on this, make sure you got the panel selected. Slot padding, what was it, 5, minimum slide width, 100 and 100. Now let's take a look. Yeah, that looks better. Alright, so now our item info struct, we want to go ahead and set some of this up. So I'll set this as none, item image. Do we have any just plain black screen? Let's see what we can use in here as a nothing's there type thing. Well, it's you. I'm going to use this one. Doesn't make sense, but I'm going to use it anyway. So there's that. This looks better than just the plain white. So now when we open it up, it should have, yeah, it's got the name of it and the amount. Alright, but now we need to be able to add something to it. So in the player blueprint, we're going to go over here and do our interact call function. Oh, we want to set up a key command first. So e key. Normally you would probably use, there you are, input functions from here, but I'm just doing it this way for now. Actually, no, let's do it the right way. So in the project settings, input, action mapping, get out of here. Call it interact. And we'll make this the E key. E. Alright, get out of here. Interact, and you want it to be an action event that is not, oh, action event. So what we want to do is we want to get the interactables in range. Get the length. Just type in length and find out if it's greater than 0, because while arrays start at 0, the length does not. So if you have a bunch of items in your array, their index might be at 0, 1, 2, 3, but the length of it will be measured from 1, 2, 3, 4, and up. So as long as it's greater than 0, this will happen. Then we want to get a copy, because we always want to get the very first one, so number 0, and then we want to shoot that, oh, that interact message across to it. So for that message, we want to go back into our very base pickup. Did we add that interact? No. In the class settings, we want to go to add the interface, interact, blueprint, compile that, and then on event interact, make sure it's event. Then we want to cast to player, get character, compile that real quick, go back to the player BP, and there's kind of a lot of back and forth, I'm sorry. We'll add another function, or add a function called pick up. The input for this will be item info. This will be basically the item that we just picked up. So what we want to do straight from jump is we want to drag this out, and then we want to do a for each loop. No. For each loop with break, because we want to be able to break its execution whenever we find the item we're looking for. So we'll hook that up. We're going to break this item info. We'll drop that down. We're also going to break that item info, because we're going to make some comparisons between the item that we're picking up and the items in our inventory. So we want to check to see if the class matches, if any of the classes in our inventory match the class that we're picking up. So we drag that off to an equal. So if it's an equals class, then we'll check the inventory to see if our current stack of that item is less than the max stack of the item we're picking up. You could do these both off that one, but you want to make sure that the current stack is off the one that's actually in your inventory. So drag off one of the red returns and do an AND, because we want to make sure both of these things are true. Then we'll do a branch with the B left click, hook that to the loop body and the boolean up to that. And for the first one that we find that is true, then we want to drag, let's hook this up like this. We'll do a reroute node up here, a reroute node right there, and then promote to a local variable called item picked. So we'll hook that there. Tidy that up a little bit. And that. That looks alright. Alright. Then we want to get the index of the item that we have found and promote that to a local variable called item index. Compile that. Then we want to add another local variable called item found question mark, and then we'll set that at the end to true. Then we'll hook this all the way back around to the break, so that once we find an item we can just stop checking. Because it matches this criteria, we're good to go. So uncompleted, then we want to, I'm just going to drag out another reference to this. So I'm going to move all this down a little bit. Drag out another reference to your inventory, and if it does exist, then we want to set array element. Oh, but first we want to do a branch. So branch. Did we find the item? If yes, then we want to set. I'm gonna scoot this all the way over. Then we want to find the item picked. We're gonna break. And we're going to make item info. Alright, I hooked that array element up to the wrong one. So here's the item picked. Here's the item info. So make sure that that is what is set to the item picked. My bad. Because we want to be able to pull the information of that one over here. So I'll drag this down, that down. We just want to go ahead and hook all of them straight back up into each other except for the current stack. The current stack we want to do plus integer, so plus 1. And then for the index, we want to do the item index. If we didn't find an item, then we just want to add. To our inventory. It looks complicated, but or maybe I'm just explaining it wrong. So right now we have no items. Player BP has the pickup item function. So back in the base pickup, we want to call that function the pickup item. We just want to pass that item info along. Oh, and then we want to destroy the item that we just picked up, because you don't want to be able to just stand there and pick it up. Wouldn't make sense. Like Mary Poppins' never-ending bag, it's just always there. So we'll save all that. Inventory system. I'm going to drop out some potions. I'm going to get rid of these empty ones. We don't need that. Get out of here. And then I'll pick that up, and I'll pick that up, and I'm gonna open. Maybe I made a mistake. Bear with me for a second. Seems I have done something wrong. This is exactly the way I did it earlier. I'm pretty sure that's supposed to be that. Item found. Index, item picked. There should be all the item info that's passed along. Build the inventory. Base pickup casts to the player, picks up that item info. It's not doing this one. Pick up. So it checks the inventory to see if that element exists. So if the classes match and that happens, then it sets the item picked up. So that's... Oh my gosh. Ugh. Make sure that the item info coming in is what you add to the inventory and not this array elements. My goodness. I'm an idiot. Oh my gosh. Yeah, now it's stacking, now it's doing. It's all just that one stupid... Ugh, this is why I'm going bald. Anywho, so now... sorry for that little detour. So now if I add in a bunch more... Oh, we can do one more thing real quick. So we can drag from our player reference and find out if our inventory reference is valid. Is valid? Question mark. And if it is, then we can say build inventory. After we get inventory panel and clear children. So I want to clear everything that's in it and then rebuild it with the new information. I'm sorry about that little detour. It was like 6 in the morning. Oh. It was like 8 in the morning. Okay. But if it's not valid, then we just want to go ahead and destroy the actor. That way, if you have the menu open, like so, and you come in, boom, 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 boom. And then when it's full, next, next. Pretty cool, huh? And then from there you can just create another child blueprint of your base pickup. I'll call this one lumber_BP. Go in and I'll change the item to a cone. 0.25, 0.25, 0.25. Then I'll set this to, well, that's, that's none also. I don't care. Lumber BP. Call it wood. I think down at the bottom we got yeah. Alright, so I'm gonna go with that one. Untreated lumber. Bam. Current stack will be 1. Max stack. How many pieces of lumber should they be able to hold? Normally a person would say probably 1, but we'll go 10 on that one. And then we'll create one more base pickup of something that you would only be able to do one of. Create child blueprint. And then this one will be steel ore. Actually, you know what? I'll set the lumber to be max stack as 1. And then the steel ore, which can be a cylinder. And we'll set it, item class is steel ore, item name is ore, texture, let's go down. That's not ore, that's an ingot. Alright, well, you're a steel ore today. Bam. Current stack is 1. They can carry a maximum of 10. Alright, so I'll drag in some of these. I'll drag in some of that. And then if I have my inventory open, I'll go through and pick everything up. And see it stacks appropriately. So the health potion will stack to 5. The ore, if I had more of them, would be going to 10. And then moving on to the next one, the wood only goes to 1 because the only one would be able to have 1 because wood or lumber is heavy, etc. That's it. That's pretty much it. Stackable system. I know I got a little lost there because I hooked up the wrong stupid thing. So let's do a little overview real quick just to end this all off. So we created a base pickup that stores all our item info that we can create children blueprints of, that we feed through with this interact interface to our inventory screen and the button using the structure and the item type. Main part that I got lost on was right here, so let's just go over this again real quick. So when you pick up an item, you want to check the item info. You want to break it and compare it to the item info in that element. If the class matches and the current stack is less than the max stack, then you want to set the item picked up to that element because they match, so it's alright. And then, well, you want to make sure it's this one because this is the one that's going to have the updated stack info. So set that to the item picked up. We'll set the index to whatever index it was found at, and then we'll set a boolean to true that we found the item. Then we'll break this executable, and on completed we want to find out, did you find the item? If true, then we want to set that array element, the index of the inventory, to the item picked, and we'll update it and add one to it. And if we didn't find an item that matched that criteria, then we'll just add a whole new one to it. Pretty simple. I got a little lost, but hopefully it was straightforward enough and everything able to follow through. I'd edit out the long lapse, but I don't really like to. I don't like for things to be done off screen, and if I'd have found it and then brought it back, I'm like, hey. It just leaves too much ambiguity. I'll add a timestamp to let y'all know when I got lost, when I got fixed. So, alright, well, I hope y'all enjoyed that, and I hope y'all found this useful. Now you can go pick up whatever you like. You can add as many items for as many meshes or pictures you got. And it's fairly simple when you don't get lost, right? Alright, catch y'all on the next one.